The first thing we're going to get into is uh, college football. Is EA actually bringing back college football? There's some reason to be excited, right? So last week, EA dropped the first information about Madden 20. The cover athlete, of course, is Patrick Mahomes, and they talked about the one of the prominent new features, which is a different layer to the connected franchise mode, and it's called the face of the franchise, QB1. So basically, you take control of a quarterback, you create him, you take him through college football playoffs and the combine, and then all the way into the NFL. The key part that we're focusing on right now, though, is that you'll get a chance to pick from 10 college football programs for your created quarterback to play as. So, I mean, okay, so that's getting people excited, of course, right? I think it's like Texas, Oregon, and no Big Ten schools, which we'll talk about that in a second. No Alabama either, which is also pretty interesting. Clemson, Florida, Florida State. There's 10 total, right? 10 of the biggest programs, but some obviously some glaring omissions. This clearly and understandably gets people talking and wondering about whether or not this is going to be like bringing back college football to video games, which is something that we've been wanting. Everybody who loves college football, pretty much college football video games, have been wanting, and we want to see that come back. So it's got a lot of people excited. Conceptually, I think it is the step in the right direction, of course. It's showing that there is a will from the developers, the publishers, the people in charge, that they have a will to bring back a college football experience. There is no question as to whether or not EA believes that having a college football game can be profitable for them, because that's number one. Because obviously, if the publisher doesn't believe that it's profitable, it's not going to happen, right? I think that's the biggest reason why we haven't seen a boxing video game. But that is a topic for another episode of Mazique Speaks. But gaining the individual license is another step. So they went ahead to gain the individual license for 10 collegiate programs. Now, I believe they might have had 4 in Madden 20 and Madden 19 for the long shot series, but that was something altogether different, right? It didn't give you any options and choices, and the branding wasn't as strong as it is in this. Like I said, not all of the schools are involved. There's some big time schools that are not in this. Notre Dame, like I said, none of the Big Ten teams. Alabama's not there. A lot of big UCLA's not there. A lot of big time college football programs are not involved. So, like I said, it's just a step, but it does make you wonder how much would it cost, right? So you couldn't just go to the NCAA and get the license anymore the way they used to. So I'm immediately wondering, if you have to negotiate with each one of these programs, each one of these universities individually, how much is it going to cost to secure all of the schools in Division 1 football? And if so, if you do that, I mean, are there going to be, I mean, how much is that going to cost overall? And are there going to be universities and programs that just elect not to be involved? So then at that point, are we going to have an incomplete college football experience where there's no real Notre Dame team, or they have to make a team that's not really Notre Dame, and then they got to change up the colors and stuff? And then will they even allow you to go in and edit that university or that school and make it look like Notre Dame? And can Brad Nessler or whoever comes back as the voice, if this does happen, I'm speaking purely hypothetical here, if this does happen, how much customization will they put in your hands and allow you to kind of fill in the gaps? That's a big thing right now, and I'm really a proponent of this. I think a lot of these companies, and I've said this in several videos before, I think a lot of these developers and publishers need to stop spending money on licensing these big time schools, players, and all of that in some instances. Now, I'm not talking about with NBA 2K and 2K, and I'm not even talking about that with Madden in the NFL. I think that they have these licenses in place is a big part of what they do. But if you are a developer that is looking to get into a sport that is already occupied by a killer, right? So we got 2K. I mean, you got 2K with NBA with basketball, and you got EA with football, and then you got Sony. I mean, you got Sony with baseball. But if you're looking to get in, and one of the issues is paying for that license, and that is cutting into your development cost and your overhead overall, and taking away from maybe some other aspect of your game, I would say creating a game that puts a lot of customization in the hands of fans and letting them kind of crowdsource some of that notoriety and some of those recognizable faces and teams and that sort of thing. I think allowing fans to do that is a really smart way to approach. So I understand why EA wouldn't be going that way, because they're EA and they've already have a certain standard set because they have Madden. They used to have NCAA football. If they bring out a college football game with not all of the colleges represented, there are going to be some people who are going to say so they're going to have an issue with it, right? So we'll see how that works out. To be totally honest, I wouldn't mind having a college football that came out where it gave you complete command over, customizing the uniforms, customizing the names of the schools, customizing the name of all of the players, customizing the stadiums, and even just everything, mascots, the whole nine. Just let you just do whatever you want to, even customize the way that the postseason work. So if you want to have a 32-16 team playoff situation, you can do that. And I think you allow yourself that freedom if you don't take on an NCAA license. And of course, are there going to be people who are going to create NCAA teams and players? Absolutely. Quiet is kept, or not even that quiet. Obviously, the developer wants you to do that, because that means that you're able to give their consumers an experience that they didn't have to necessarily pay for. The key is you can't advertise it. The developer can never say, yeah, and if you're really good, you can create Notre Dame with our game. No, you can't ever say that, because now you are essentially selling the brand. You have to just give the consumers the tools. They will find it. And with the share features, with social media the way it is right now, fans do a lot of the advertising for these games now instead of the actual companies. That's why these companies are paying YouTube influencers so much money, because they understand that the Chris Smooths, the Eric Ray Weathers, the iPod King Carters, the Cash Nasties, the LSKs, all of these different people, Toke Nasty, all of these different people, they sell their game. They sell games even more, or almost as much as EA and 2K sells their games individually. So, or as a company. So to me, I think if you get the tools out there and you get the right people to get it in their hands and they start making videos and stuff about it, everybody's going to know that this is, or a good number of people are going to know, hey, this is what you can do. And I think it becomes a feature that you didn't have to pay for. I especially advise doing that if you don't already have a major sports video game in rotation. If you are a company that's looking to make a football game, especially if you're a company that's looking to make a boxing, absolutely 100%, just give people outstanding gameplay, which is difficult. I'm not trying to make it seem like that's something just easy to just comes like that. Give people outstanding gameplay and give them a creative fighter option that allows them to create any boxer they want. And I'm telling you, this same formula will work for college football, for boxing, whatever. Are you going to sell as much as EA does with Madden? Probably not. But you probably don't need to, because you didn't spend as much money on the license to produce the game to begin with. So that's just my take on that. But getting back specifically to NCAA football, I mean, NCAA Football 14 with Denard Robinson on the cover is one of the best football video games ever. Really, it's really good. I think it is the best of the NCAA series, which I think has been traditionally better than Madden. From a gameplay standpoint, it's not quite what All Pro 2K8 was, but it's really good, and it's very close. It's closer than any of the Maddens have been. From a gameplay standpoint, I still think Madden has had a better franchise mode than any of the NFL 2Ks or All Pro 2K8 ever had. I think as flawed as Madden's franchise mode is, it was still more layered than theirs. So that's one thing there. But if they could, from a gameplay standpoint, I think All Pro 2K was really on point. But those NCAA series were right there. So I'm really hoping that they can get back into it, and I hope that this is a precursor to bringing college football back. But I wouldn't get too excited as of yet. If I had to guess, I think we're probably looking at something like 2021 at the earliest before we saw another college football video game. At least a minute. We are talking a lot of stuff today. This is Mazique Speaks, and I got a pretty hefty schedule, a pretty hefty
Pocket, I'll be weak. I'm rather unique.